Hello and welcome to today's video. As most of my subscribers and regular viewers know, not too long ago we purchased e-bikes and subsequently an e-bike rack. This is the manufacturer we chose, and it has the ability to hold two bikes. I don't know if you're like me or not, but after having spent thousands of dollars on two e-bikes, the last thing I wanted to do was spend $800 to $1,000 more dollars on a bike rack, especially when I could pick up what we got and it's working perfectly well. There are two things, however, that the expensive racks have that my rack did not. One being a fold-out ramp. For those of you who watched my first video, toward the end I posted some bonus footage of my having built a rudimentary ramp out of a spare 2x4 that I just had laying around. So issue number one was resolved. Issue number two is with regard to getting the bike across from one wheel cradle to the other once you get it up on the rack. The expensive models have a means whereby the two cradles are connected and you just roll the front tire of the bike right across to the other side. This has been kind of a thorn in my side since we purchased this rack, and today, my friends, we're going to remedy that issue because together we're going to build a bridge. So let's get after it. So here is a shot of my ramp. Mine needed to be longer because I'm hoisting the bikes up on the back of my four-wheel drive truck. I made the hook from a bag of spare curtain rod parts. And just today, as part of a viewer recommendation, I mounted a scrap piece of trim as an edge guard. When I get another scrap like this, I'll screw it to the other side. A piece of 1x1 screwed to the bottom is used to stabilize the 2x4 so it won't tip over during loading. The hook goes over the end of the wheel cradle like this. I'll first demonstrate the ease of loading my wife's bike on the inside rack position closest to the vehicle. This bike's front tire, even at 20 inches, is fully capable of rolling across the tongue of the rack shown here. This tongue bridges the gap between the wheel cradles. The bike is tilted slightly during loading to avoid the hold-down hook hovering overhead. One person can easily load this bike. The hook adjustment knob is loosened, lowered into place, and tightened. Aside from strapping down the wheels with the attached hook and loop fasteners, this bike is ready to roll. But such easy loading is not the case with my bike, which is loaded onto the outside wheel cradles. As I tilt the bike towards me to avoid the hold-down hook and begin to roll forward, you'll see there is nothing I can use to bridge this gap between wheel cradles. If I don't do anything, the front wheel will drop to the ground. The only thing I can do is grasp the motor in the middle or maybe a pedal on the other side and attempt to hold the steering wheel straight as I lift the 60-pound bike to the other side. This would not be practical for someone with a disability or an older bike rider. Oh, and it's even worse unloading. Observe as I try and lean the bike while lifting and walking the front wheel backward, all the while trying to stay on the ramp and keeping the steering wheel straight. This is not a one-person job. If only someone had an idea of how to bridge this gap. Well, ladies and gentlemen, someone did. This is my homemade solution. Here in the States, we call this press board, otherwise known as OSB. I bent some straight brackets to allow them to hook around the cradle arms like this. The opposite cradle is loosened and temporarily moved to allow the hooks on the other end of the OSB to drop into position. Then the cradle is slipped outward again and the cradle arm engages the hooks. The cradle knob is then retightened. And now check it out. The bike is still tilted to avoid the hold-down hook, but there's just no comparison in the lack of effort required to load it. Because the brackets can be custom bent to wrap around the cradle arms, this bridge is not going anywhere. In fact, my plan is to leave it on permanently. It fits tightly and it doesn't move even when the rack is in the up position. Now I'm not going to do it, but you could fit screws into the bracket holes shown here on the right side and the left. But I'm going to leave my bridge as is. I began by measuring from the outside of one cradle arm to the outside of the opposite cradle arm, which for me was 29 inches. Then I took off a 1/4 inch to allow the edges of the bridge to clear the edges of the cradle arms. The width of my bridge is 7 3/4 inches. I bought 4 of these 6-inch straight brackets from my local hardware store, then put them in a vise and hammered 2 bends in each bracket to the following specifications. Measure and mark to your needs, then drill holes to mount the brackets as follows. The threaded ends of the screws were ground flat to allow for clearance against the left cradle arm. I'm going to add an edge guard to the bridge on the outside only. The bike wheel will be unable to run off the bridge on the inside due to the presence of the hold-down hook shaft and connecting bracket. So here's the finished product. Again, I hook it in place on the right side first, then slide the cradle arm underneath the hooks on the left side and tighten. I couldn't be happier with the results, and I even added some reflective stickers to the outside of the edge guard to warn those pesky tailgaters. So there you have it, my friends, and I want to thank you for stopping by and taking a few minutes to let me show you what I did with this bike rack. And maybe you saw something that makes you want to go, maybe I'll subscribe to that guy's channel and see what else he's got going on. But furthermore, I hope that you saw something today that makes you think, well, maybe I don't have to pay a lot of money for a bike rack. Maybe I can buy one that's less expensive and make these types of adjustments and make it work for me too. So until next time, much success in all your projects. This is Dean with Pilot View Productions.